Well, hello. Welcome to my live video. Arica Angelo, dating and relationship expert of 14 years now. And we are going to talk about a little bit of a convoluted subject about when people get insecure, when you're dating. And then their insecurity shows. Like, does that make you too good for them? Like, what does that exactly mean? So I'm curious how many of you have encountered some insecure people in your dating? And how did you feel about it? What did you think? Wealthy as a mind frame says, "Good morning, Erica. What is your response to flaky women and time wasting women?" Woo! You will have to quantify for me what a time wasting woman is to you. Let me know more about that. Steve says, insecurity is a mindset. It happens to everyone at some point. That's a good take. So Steve is saying, no, he's not. I'm assuming, Steve, you're saying that no, you don't feel like you're too good for them, that it's just something that everyone goes through. And Juan, YouTube hid your comment, but it says some flaky women want a free meal. If not, they want someone to spend money on them. I know for a fact. I had a couple of dates like that, and women left after the date like they had an emergency. All lies. Well, damn, that's an interesting experience, my darling, and frustrating. I'm sure it's very, very frustrating. So, listen, before I get into this, guys, you have to go and download my connection meditation. I'm curious if you've gotten that connection meditation yet. It's a downloadable meditation to help you connect, to help you feel safe with love and being in love and all those things that, sometimes get super scary and make us feel very vulnerable. So, this meditation is to help alleviate that. I'll put it right there. It's free. And I'm also in the middle of working on putting a video with it as well, which I'm really excited about. I am personally editing this video myself. I haven't done editing in a long time and I needed a creative outlet. And so, yeah, I wanted to do this. I'm really into making like my own mind movies. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but I make them. They're like vision boards, but movies. From Dr. Joe Dispenza. I got that from him. And so, yeah, I'm making this sort of into like a mind movie while also being a meditation. So I'm really excited for the video to come out. So stay tuned. So here's the thing. When we are dating, insecurity comes up for everyone. Everyone. Because at the end of the day, everyone's afraid of the big R word. R word. What is that? What's the big R word? The R word is rejection. Everyone's afraid of getting rejected. Now, if you're in a situation like Juan, where he's saying women are just using him for like a free meal, I mean, like, you could save yourself a lot of money and be like, girl, if you're hungry, here's $3 and you can go to McDonald's instead of wasting my time. If you want a meal, go get you a Happy Meal. How much are Happy Meals now? I'm very curious. But everyone's scared of getting rejected in dating, right? And so when you're afraid of getting rejected, people's insecurities come out. Now, I'm going to go into it a little bit more because I think there are certain type of people who have a certain type of insecurity that you should run away from. And so when we say, am I too good for them? Let's clarify what that means. It's not saying, well, actually, we'll clarify it in a little bit, what that means about being too good for them. But here's the thing, when people just have nervous energy, when they're insecure because they're afraid of getting rejected, is this the kind of person that you just want to walk away from? No. I think people who are very quick to make judgments when they're on a date with someone, it's like, oh, they have a little insecurity, so I'm too good for that. I'm running away. That person themselves is afraid. That person themselves has self-protection that is flaring up inside of them. That is their guard coming up. That's not a healthy guard, but it's their guard coming up going, I'm looking for any excuse to run from people because I'm afraid of getting hurt. And then if you were to ask them some questions and say, hey, what were your last relationships like? Did you get hurt in those relationships? Chances are they're going to say, yes, I was. And I don't want that to happen again. So here's the thing, when we get super finicky and we are so afraid of seeing red flags, such as a little bit of insecurity, and we want to run because it reminds us of our ex, it reminds us of that person who caused a lot of pain, I would say to you, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, a little bit of insecurity is normal. A little bit of insecurity makes us human. Wealthy as a mind frame says, intention of women who have no intention of escalating sexual chemistry talk about past relationships, no intention. Constantly talk about other men in your presence. Wealthy as a mind frame, you know what? People who are doing that, it's just disrespectful, honestly. And you can call them out on that and say, listen, I feel like you're being super disrespectful right now. And this isn't really working for me. I wish you the best. Maybe there are other guys who want to hear you talk about your ex and other men. I'm just not that guy for you. I really wish you the best. C'est la vie. Send them off on their way. Thank you, Gaza Performance Garage. He says, hello, Erica. Love your show. Okay, guys, I have a little bit of a confession to make. My energy is just a tad bit low. I booked a therapy session for myself today. I saw my therapist over Zoom, my therapist in Bali, and we did some somatic therapy, which is like moving the body, releasing emotions, and as I looked at my calendar, I was like, that probably wasn't the best move to schedule a somatic therapy session and to come on and do a live video. So you can tell my energy is a bit low. That is why typically when I come out of somatic therapy, I like to just get in bed and lay and just in the fetal position. And do any of you know what somatic therapy is? I'm curious. Let me know if you've ever heard of that. I'm really loving it. So yeah, listen, I think that when we are terrified of someone with a little bit of insecurity, one, like that comes from a bit oh, Barry, you know about somatic therapy. Tell me what you know in the comment section. I'm going to come back to that. When someone goes, I'm too good for that person, they're insecure, that is a scared person at the end of the day. They're not confident. Like people who put people down and go, oh, that person's just, they're so like together because they put other people down. It's like I was watching this TV I was watching this TV show, and there's this woman who basically just manipulates everyone. And the way that she does it is by like putting them down, insulting them, and everyone thinks she's so cool, which she's really surrounded by just a bunch of other broken, insecure people herself. So they resonate with that divisive energy. But when someone says like, oh, that person's insecure, typically the person who's saying that is afraid of failure. They're afraid of getting hurt. And so when you hear someone coming at someone else's insecurities like that and going, I'm obviously too good for them, that's an insecure, broken person. You're like, you know what? You should go sit down with your therapist. You should really go schedule a coaching session because you need to work through that. That's some nasty energy that you're putting out there in the world. And you know what? Shit's already dark out there. We don't need your dark energy adding to it. So go get some healing there. So that's my take on that. Is it that you're too good for them? No. But here's the thing. When you see someone with insecurity, and it's a constant every time you're with them and you're going on a date with them, and it's a constant reoccurring theme, and it's rubbing you wrong, you're just like, this feels off. Like this person just talks about their insecurities nonstop. This is a bit of a red flag for me. I don't think I want to see this person anymore because it's obvious they have some deep insecurity issues. I think that's the clarification. Like if someone's just it's surface level of insecurity just because they're nervous, they're fearful, they're scared of getting rejected, that's like, okay, that stuff can be worked through. But when it's at deep level insecurity where they're super redundant and pointing out their weaknesses, they are very fidgety. They have a very hard time being present. They're constantly like touching themselves, like, do I look okay? Do I look okay? And it's like, I'm here with you and I'm obviously maintaining eye contact with you. So I find you good looking enough to engage with you. So can you just be present? When it becomes that kind of deep insecurity, and you go, this isn't a person I'm gelling with. I'm not vibing with this person. So I think I need to move on. I don't think I want to keep seeing that person. Even in that, you're not saying, I'm better. I'm too good for that person. Now, you do hear people say, they're not on my level. You're not on my level. They're not on my level. So I don't necessarily like, I think that that can be a bit arrogant. What we can say is this is like, listen, we are not in the same place. Like, I'm not comfortable with a person who has that much insecurity and they're not willing to face it. Here's the thing. I believe that most people, if you dig deep enough, everyone has a place in them that's a bit off, a bit broken, a place that could use some healing. Why? Because we live in a world that's fallen. And so things happen. People go through hard shit and that hard shit does things to them, to their to who they are, to how they process life, the stories that they tell themselves, how they then interact in the world, how they show up as a result of those bad experiences. So I think that everyone's always going to have that sense of like insecurity, a bit of brokenness inside of them that needs healing. Here's the difference. The difference is a person who goes, yeah, I really am conscious that I'm very insecure about this. And that's why I do this. And they are looking to get some resolve in that area, not stuff it. Like I see a lot of men do that, where men are like insecure because they had a mom who berated them all their life or a father who pushed them too hard. And so they just, or moms who push them too hard, parents who push them too hard. And so I've seen men like in the gym just killing themselves just to like, get themselves in a place externally so that they can't get rejected and feel hurt, so that they don't ever have to feel not good enough like they felt as a child. So they just overexert themselves to become this image so that they don't have to feel that pain again, or that men work very hard to become successful so that they don't have to feel that pain again, and no one can ever F with them because they have money or they have a career, and say they overcompensate in that area. I don't think that's a solution. I think that's just stacking pain on top of pain. I think that that causes momentary satisfaction, a momentary sense of confidence, but it's not sustainable, because that if you don't address the pain, if you don't address the insecurity in itself and the root as to where it came from, if you don't address that root, it will continue to produce the same thing that it's always produced. No matter how much gym time you stack on top of it, no matter how much work time you stack on top of it, no matter how much fake confidence you stack on top of it, at some point we all have to go to the root and go, where did that come in from? Yikes, that hurt. Yeah, I need to feel those emotions, not run from it, not stack more fake solutions with no sustainability on top of it, and allow myself to get some healing, to love that little child who was hurt and neglected, show them some compassion because they still live with me inside. Show them some compassion and set them free. Let them be healed to move on. So I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but what I'm saying is like, if a person is willing to go and get real healing on that, they're really addressing their insecurities, then that is someone that you can grow with. You might have done some work on yourself to address your insecurities, and maybe they're coming up behind you, but there's a pace, there's a momentum, they're doing something about it. That kind of person, you can't say like, you're not on my level. Here's the thing, like if you've ever been in a relationship, like relationships go through stages. Like one person may be growing really strongly in their career while the other person may not be so much, but then all of a sudden, like there's that jump. I remember, I don't know why I've been thinking about this old couple, this not old couple, but they have not been together for a long time. I remember Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey. I don't know why I've been thinking about them. I don't know if she like came up in an interview or something. And so I remember he made her sign a prenup because at that time he was, I guess, was more successful than her. So they were like, and if I remember the story correctly, he made her sign a prenup. And then her career just ended up catapulting, and then she ended up having way more money than he did, and so it was like, that didn't work out so well. And so what I'm saying is, like, even emotionally, that's a very practical financial, illustration, but when it comes to emotionally, like, yeah, you might be on a journey of healing and you see someone that's not as far as you. But if they're putting in the steps, you don't know if in 6 months they can boom surpass you. So to say, like, I'm too good for them, I'm on another level, I'm above them is nonsense because you don't know that person's determination. You might get distracted with your career while they're being very attuned to their emotional health, and they may just jump right over you in their emotional growth. So, one, no one, we're never too good for anyone, but we may be on different courses. We may have a different trajectory in life when it comes to how we are going about self development, growing, evolving. So, if that person is just not interested in growing, it's like, this is my insecurities. I've been hearing this a lot of that. It's just who I am, accept me as I am. No one wants to accept your the poison that comes out of your brokenness. No one should ever have to drink your poison. And that's what ends up happening is when we are sick, when we're not healed, and then we tell other people, you just have to accept that. It's like, yeah, but then your actions are going to have a result and it's going to have an impact on that person. And when you have unhealed areas, it does leak out, it does seep out as poison. And so you're asking them to drink of your poison because when they're in a relationship with you, they will eat of whatever you produce emotionally, mentally, spiritually. So no one just has to deal with anything. And so if you're in a situation where, someone goes, well, just deal with it. No, you never ever have to just deal with it. That's a person who's just going, I'm terrified of facing myself. And so I'm going to come across as incredibly stubborn so that I look strong. But really, I'm really just a terrified person on the inside and I'm scared to address this. You almost would respect them more. You would respect them more if they were just direct about that and said that. So if someone's just stuck in their ways and they're just like, no, I'm insecure about this and I'm fine with it, I'm not going to do anything about it, run, run. You don't want to put up with that. That will hold you back in your own healing. That will poison your own journey. It will poison the waters of your own journey of self-growth. So it's like, no, if someone's not responsible for themselves and you're dating them, run. Because guess what? There are so many people out there who are doing their inner work, who are facing their demons. It just really floors me the amount of people that I speak to and I hear people's journeys of seeing therapists, seeing coaches, seeing healers, taking ayahuasca, like all of these things that people are doing to come back to themselves. And as they come back to themselves and trauma comes up, that they address that trauma so that they can reclaim themselves. Like It blows me away how many people are addressing these things, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful when I see people doing that. So if you're in a situation where someone's just like, nope, I ain't budging, I'm going to stay right here, just let them stay right there and let someone else come and be their caretaker and wipe their backside. That's not you. You have too much value, you have too much significance. And so in that situation, it's not saying I don't think that I'm better than you, but I value myself enough to walk away from something that is not going in the same direction as I am. It's a different conversation. It's not like I don't value you any less, but I do value myself to not go down this path with you. Okay? Does that make sense? Um, Penguin says, "Hello, it is good to release inner stress. Thanks for sharing that rest. I do have a question. When both have insecurities and it builds caution, how would you address that feeling?" Ooh, that is such a brilliant question because I believe that at most times when you're dating, both people do have insecurities. And so the most healthy situation is when you have two people who can openly talk about that. And when you talk about it, this is what it looks like, Penguin. It looks like this. Let's say you're a guy, and let's think of a thing like, what are men insecure about? Men have like insecurities about like muscles, finances, their body, their height, their penis size. Like these are the things that guys get insecure about. Women can get insecure, and men get insecure about this as well, but women can get insecure too about like other women coming and taking their man, which some guys get jealous about that stuff too. Some guys get overly controlling about like, you can't talk to this person, you can't talk to that person. So let's say that one person has abandonment issues, right? One person says, like, I'm scared that you're going to find someone better than me. That's abandonment issue. So you have that. Let's say the guy has issues of like, listen, I think that, maybe I don't make as much money as you. So maybe that's some self-worth issues for him, right? Maybe he comes from a home where his only value to his parents was what he could do. He had to make good grades, he had to excel at sports, otherwise they would withhold their love from him. So it's like my whole value system is built on how I perform. And then she's got a different situation, which is I was abandoned, and so I'm afraid that that is going to happen again. This is the healthy, ideal situation with two people working through their insecurities together. Which, hello, this is like one of the many beautiful gifts that relationships provide us is that creating that safe container for us to show up in our beauty, in our glory, and also in our pain and in our shame. And in both scenarios, going, you are still loved, you're still accepted, I'm still going to be here for you in that. So what that would look like is openly communicating through that. So it's sharing some history, it's being self-aware. One, I think it requires two people being self-aware. And if you're not self aware, that you're open to someone pointing out your blind spots, which can be a little hard to hear. But at the end of the day, I believe that feedback is one of the biggest ways that we grow. So it's one, being self aware. And then two, it's sharing your story. I remember hearing someone say something about like, uh, you don't know me until you know my story. And so it's like really understanding like where each person comes from. Because when we know the why, when we hear the story of the pain, when we hear, what past experiences did to someone, it's much more easy for us to have compassion, to have empathy for them because we know where that pain comes from. And some part of us, we either feel it or we can relate to it or both. So knowing that person's story, whereas if they just said, I'm just insecure about this and that's how I feel and like that's it. It's like, you don't, there's no story to attach. And so the more we get to know someone's story, the more we have compassion. So it's being self-aware. It's also knowing each other's story, knowing the history of where that insecurity comes from, where that pain source comes from. And then three, it's creating a self-container for each person to be responsible for themselves and to show up and to responsibly share, hey, I'm getting a bit triggered by this. I'm feeling a bit insecure about this. And this is what I'm going to do about it. This is my solution. And the other partner to say, how can I support you in that? How can I support you in that? So it doesn't, I think we're all guilty of, maybe we're not all guilty, but we can become controlling in that. Go, well, I need you to not do that anymore. No, 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 no. It's not about that, because that's a slippery slope. You can hear my lisp with these invisible braids. That's a slippery slope. Um, and so you can sit there and you can empathize with them, and you can go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you're feeling that way. That must be painful. I'm so sorry. You're not saying like, I'm going to change all of my behaviors to make you feel better. If you're causing them the pain, yes. But if she's like, you can't look at other women, that's control. If he says like, you have to get excited every time I do something great, that's control. That's trying to control the other person's response. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about showing compassion and saying like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that you feel that way. And oftentimes when someone shows us compassion, when someone shows us empathy, that in itself can be the healing balm to the pain, to the insecurity that someone has had. I'm a huge touch person. I talk a lot about touch on my channel because I believe that touch is what connects us. I believe touch is what heals us. So when they're sharing their pain and they have an actual tangible experience of someone coming and holding them and saying like, I am so sorry that you went through that, and touching them, that in itself can go and be a real healing balm to that person's pain. So that is a very broad, I mean, not broad, that's a very long answer to your question, but I'll sum it up with this. I'll summarize it with, it's one, two people being accountable, understanding themselves, being aware of themselves. Two, sharing the story. Three, them being accountable and speaking up when they feel that insecurity, when they feel that pain. And four, that you show them compassion and empathy in that, and that you guys create a safe container for all of that to exist, if that makes sense to you. Jaroslav says, hi from Czech Republic. Do you know that my parents' last name, my birth name, is Czechoslovakian? I don't know if many people know that. My birth name is Czechoslovakian. Isn't that interesting? So I'm Czech. Your fellow Czech. Hello. Lucas says, I'm not patient today. What do you mean? You're not patient about what? Tell me a little bit more. Division says, you're a beautiful soul. Oh, thank you for that. That's always good to hear. It's really nice to hear. Thank you for sharing that with me. Juan says, Erica always has good advice all the time. Thank you. Oh, I'm so glad it resonates with you. Ronak! Hi, my darling. Good to see you. Ronak, you've been on my mind. How are you, babe? It's been a long time since we've connected. And where are you? Are you in the States? Tell me where you are. Penguin says, thank you. That was a beautiful explanation. I'm so glad that it helped. And I think that's kind of the container that we all want to have, is that kind of like safe place where we can show up and not just be our perfect best self, because that's just not real. We're gonna have things that come up that shake us up a little bit. And we want that safe container to be able to share with someone and say like, hey, like, not doing so well, feel a bit insecure, which is so vulnerable. Let me just say that. Like, if you're a person and you struggle with insecurity and you're like, I'm watching this video because I'm the insecure person and I'm afraid that people are going to feel like they're too good for me or they're going to run away from me. Sharing insecurities is like a really vulnerable thing. But let me tell you what, when you share them in a safe container where someone is giving you empathy, they're giving you compassion, that can be the most rewarding, healing experience. And I don't know about you guys, but I have created my own container. I have certain people in my life that I have set up in my life, and I know that when I go through something that makes me feel insecure, that I can send them a WhatsApp message, I can send them a text, I can send them a voice memo, but like I got my squad ready to go. And I think that every person needs that, whether you're single or in a relationship. We need that like ready to go squad where you can just hit the button and boom, the squad is there and you're like, help, I'm going through this, because you want to have that safe place that you can be vulnerable with, and you want people who are going to give you wisdom, compassion, empathy to get you through it. um Ronak says, I'm good, you're back in the States, awesome, you've been traveling lately, got on here to see how you're doing. I'm in the south of France, babe, are you coming to Europe at all? Let me know. um Burger Hustler, that's a great name. Listening on my way to work. Love your positive advice. Oh, I feel really honored that you would listen to me as you're driving to work. People have said that I should like do a podcast, because like YouTube, it's like video, and so you have to like keep the app open, whereas a podcast you can just hit play and drive and do whatever. I've yet to do that, but I think it's great advice. Any other questions for me, guys? I'm here for you. Okay, can I just tell you a little bit about somatic therapy? Also, if you're about to jump off, please make sure that you go get that connection meditation. And if you already have it, come back and the next couple of days, and there's going to be a beautiful connection. um, I'm going to call it mind movie that I am personally making for you. I'm putting my heart into it. It's obviously my voice on the meditation. I've been told that I have a soothing voice, which is really funny because sometimes I have a voice that will like go off on a person, and then I have a soothing voice. It's very interesting. It's a lion in me. But yes, putting this mind movie, it's a concept I learned from Dr. Joe Dispenza. Love his work. I don't know if you guys are familiar with his work. Beautiful work. But yeah, I'm making a mind movie. So you can download this meditation, or you can watch the mind movie that is coming out. Ronak says, oh, you have a healing voice. Oh, I could cry. Ronak has been a client of mine, and Ronak just, he speaks to my heart. He has a special gift of like speaking to my heart in such a beautiful way. And I always want to cry when Ronak says nice things to me. Robert says, hi, are you single? I am not single. Are you trying to ask me out? That's sweet if you are. Hunter Mars says, cool. So let me just tell you really quick about somatic therapy because I'm like in love with it. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you should go follow me. It's the Arica Angelo. Erica's with an A, there's no E. The Arica Angelo. I always tell people it's like Africa with no F. So I just posted a picture of me in Bali with my somatic therapist, with my who's in Bali, and I had gotten to work with her for 6 months. And here's, I don't know why I feel compelled to tell you about somatic therapy. It's not a service that I offer, but I think for people who, if you're watching this and you struggle with like insecurity that really debilitates you, I am such an advocate of somatic therapy right now. I should bring her on my YouTube channel. We should do something together. um Robert says that guy is very lucky. That's very sweet. Yeah, he is, right? um so somatic therapy, I believe in, I believe in lots of forms of therapy. I've practiced lots of forms of therapy. I am not a licensed therapist, though. When my clients work with me, they say that it feels like therapy, and they say that my process sometimes is much quicker than a normal therapy session, which I think sometimes is good. And sometimes I think therapy needs to be a bit slower. I've done it all. I've done coaching, I've done therapy, I've done somatic therapy, I've done it all. And so I think for whatever stage we are in our healing, like we'll need a different type of uh, avenue of healing. So somatic therapy is all about like working with your body. And I share on my Instagram post about how our emotions get trapped in our body. And so I had seen like normal therapists, I'd seen healers in Bali, I've seen coaches, and there were just some things I just could not get past. And I remember working with I got introduced to my now therapist because she was offering a class in breath work. And so in that session, like I had some very charged emotions that came up, and she just kind of giggled with me in my emotions. And so I'd never had anyone kind of handle my emotions that way. And it was like very lighthearted and very loving. And then as I continued to work with her privately and not in a group setting, she introduced me to like somatic work, and it was life changing. My friends are all like, yeah, you became much more peaceful after working with her. So I have a lot going on in my life right now, and so I could feel like a little bit of anxiety coming up, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing everything I know to do, and I need help. So I reached out to my therapist. So if you struggle with like debilitating insecurities, I would really encourage you to look into somatic therapy. It could be some trapped emotions in your body that just need to get worked out, babe. At the end of the day, like insecurity is something that we all have, and I almost want to normalize it. What I don't want to normalize is not addressing it and making other people responsible for it. Like I one thing that I see going on in our culture right now that really grieves me inside is I see people being advocates for their insecurity, for their places of shame, of the places where they've life has been unjust. And I think that's great that people are having a voice and being able to communicate that, and that other people are coming up around them and advocating for them. The part that grieves me is when I see people who are voicing their pain, but then that they say, you are responsible. You have to show up and you have to be responsible for my pain. When I hear that, I go, you're still the same victim. You haven't gotten any freedom, because while you're using your voice, you're still controlling other people and you're using judgment, and the same pain that was inflicted on you, you're now inflicting on other people because they're not on the same page with you. And it's never okay for us to say, hey, I'm going to judge you for this. Never okay. I don't know why I went off on that as well. Um, if there's not anything else, and I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Can you guys hear a big difference with these braces when I talk? It's so like I'm really excited to not be wearing these. Barry says that from my level 3 chiropractor. Interesting. The 12 stages of healing. Barry, I have never heard of this. That sounds fascinating. And a chiropractor to recommend somatic therapy. That's really cool. I love chiropractors. I love when they crack me and I just hear everything go. But then again, there are some really crappy ones that are more painful than anything. Oh, and so here's the thing. I want to go back to when you guys are talking about people who are flaky and who waste your time in dating. At the end of the day, this is a hard reality. This is a really hard thing to hear. And I'm going to say this as gracefully as I can. But no one can treat you in any way that you tolerate. And what I mean by that is if people are wasting your time, somewhere you were giving people the green light to treat you as such. And so the quickest way to get out of that so that you stop that cycle for yourself is the minute that you see that, that you shut it down. I'm a firm believer. I remember hearing this and I didn't like hearing it, but now I really resonate with it. And I'm like, ooh, I resonate with it because I practice it and I'm like, that is true. That saying no is a very powerful thing. And the more you say no, it's the quickest way to get to an empowered yes. And so, in a situation like that, when you know that someone is being flaky with you, it's shutting it down very quickly. Even if you're on a date, like I know people sometimes feel compelled to like stay on dates with people when they know it's not going anywhere. I don't think why? Why do you need to? That's your time. That's their time. If you feel like it's not going anywhere, you can just honestly say, "Hey, I really appreciate you coming out. I really don't feel like we have much of a connection here. And so I really don't want to waste your time and I really don't want to waste my time either. So it was lovely to meet you. I really wish you all the best." And you go on your separate ways. The more comfortable you get saying no to those kind of situations, sweetheart, the more you make room for people who will not waste your time and will value you. Because this is what I always say, people are a mirror to us. So by you tolerating that is you can just get in front of a mirror and say to yourself, I have a mirror over here, so that's why I'm looking over here. I don't value myself. And when I let people treat me that way, I don't value me. So instead of getting so upset and worked up about them and saying they don't value me, no, 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 no. Because you keep allowing that, you might as well just look in the mirror and go, I don't value myself. Boom. You shift the game right there. Shift is what I said. You shift the game right there and you go, you know what? Ah, that's right. I'm not valuing myself. I'm asking this person to give me something that I'm not even giving to myself. So let's change that. Okay. We're changing that. I'm going to start valuing you. And when you're in a scenario, this is me talking to a mirror, when you're and talking to myself in a mirror, when you get into another scenario where someone's not valuing you, I give you permission to walk away out of that situation. You don't have to stay in that situation. And you tell yourself that. And then when that situation comes and you don't feel like they're valuing you, you go, I'm not really feeling respected here. This isn't really working for me. So I'm going to go. And I really wish you all the best. And as you do that, you're going to go, whoa, that felt good. I stood up for myself. And by you standing up for yourself, is you valuing you. And when you value yourself, guess what? The world will mirror that back to you and they will start valuing you. Women, men will start valuing you. Gaza says, hi, Erica. How do you spice up a marriage that's 23 years? That's such a good question. I think that the quickest way to do that is the two of you to sit down and have this conversation. Are you ready? Three things. How do you feel loved by me? One, ask that question. 2, where do you wish I showed up more for you? Second question. Third question. How do you feel about our sex life? And that becomes a conversation. I think a lot of times, like, we want to go and fix things. Like, I think it's like if a sex life isn't doing well, guys will go out and like buy these games. It's so funny. I love that about men. It's like, let's just get practical. I've seen married men, they'll go out and like buy games to like sexual games. And I'm like, or you could just have a conversation with her and ask her what you're doing that she doesn't like. Like maybe she needs, you to kiss things in a different way or squeeze in a different way or gently be entering things a different way or more aggressively. And so it's having a conversation because that conversation then becomes a roadmap of, okay, how do we get to our goal of having a spicy marriage? And first having the conversation and getting some clarity on that first of what is working so that you do more of it. What's not working, okay, this is where we need to change things. Either I need to see a therapist, I need to get in the gym, we've got to go on more dates. And then the third is like, how do you feel about our sex life? Well, I feel like it could be more fun. Well, I feel like there could be more foreplay. Well, I feel like you could, turn it up a notch and turn it up a notch and, get a little bit more feisty there. It always starts with a conversation. So try that first. Barry says level 3, they don't crack. Oh, that's the best part when they're like, here's your arm. I love it. Um, Jaroslav says Gaza new woman. What do you mean by that? Guys, I'm gonna try to start doing more lives just because I was off of YouTube for what, like 4 months. And boy, am I seeing it. My views are just like, I was like, oh, wow, I got to give YouTube some love. They are not having it. They're like, Miss Erica, you've been gone and you got to get to work, girl. I'm like, okay, I understand. Gaza, I hope that helped you. And I'm curious, Gaza, are you going to actually go and have that conversation? You didn't just ask for my advice. You're going to do something about the advice I gave you, right? I'll wait for that answer. Gaza, are you there? Are you there, Gaza? Gaza, are you going to talk to your wife? Yes or no? All right, guys, I think they meant get a new woman. I don't know that. Oh, Gaza, new woman. Oh, get a new woman. I don't know about that. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I really love spending time with you. I would love if I know we have Zoom, but what would be really cool is if YouTube had a feature that while you were doing these videos, like it would give like a handful of people access so you could like see people's videos and then it could be more conversational. That would be like the next level of YouTube. That would be really cool. Guys, I love you so much. No one is ever better than anyone, but we could be going on different paths. So when someone refuses to deal with their insecurity, it's time to go in a new direction. And when someone is doing the work and maybe they're just not where you are, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like have some patience with them because you never know. They may just excel you in their emotional health journey. You never know. Uh, Gaza says, ah, I don't know what that means, but I'm going to take that as yes. Oh, you mean yes. Wonderful. All right, guys, I love you so much. You have what it takes, and can't wait to see you in my next live video. I'll see you guys soon. Mwah. Bye, guys. Take care.